Dr. Valthara stepped off the transport ship and looked around at the broken world before her. The air was thick and dusty, and everywhere she looked there were the remains of huge buildings that had fallen down long ago. This planet had once been home to millions of beings, but now it was just empty ruins covered in radioactive ash. Another dead world, said her assistant Quindel, as he checked his radiation detector. These humans really destroyed themselves good. Valthara nodded and started walking toward the nearest ruined city. She had been studying dead civilizations for 20 years, and they were all the same. Every species eventually destroyed itself through war, pollution, or simple stupidity. The humans of Earth were no different. The Zephyrian Collective had sent her team here because their long-range sensors had detected some unusual energy readings from this system. But now that they were here, it looked like just another typical dead world. The humans had built their cities on the surface where they were easy to destroy, just like all the other failed species. Look at this mess, Quindel said, pointing his scanner at a collapsed building. They built everything out of metal and concrete. No protection, no deep bunkers, nothing smart. Just put everything right out in the open where their enemies could blow it up. Valthara walked through the rubble, taking pictures and collecting samples. The human buildings were actually quite impressive in their own primitive way. They had built tall structures that reached toward the sky, and their cities had been enormous. But they had also built weapons that could destroy everything they had created. The radiation levels here are still pretty high, she noted, checking her instruments. This nuclear war must have been really bad. I bet they wiped out 90% of their population in just a few hours. As they moved deeper into the ruined city, Valthara began to notice something strange. The destruction was very complete, almost too complete. Every important building had been destroyed, but there were no signs of the desperate last stands that she usually saw in dead civilizations. No barricades, no emergency shelters, no signs that anyone had tried to survive. It's like they all just disappeared, she muttered to herself. 3 kilometers below where the archaeologists were walking, General Kim Dae watched them through hidden cameras. His face showed no emotion as he observed the alien beings who walked casually through. Humanity's greatest trick? The underground command center around him was busy with activity, but everything was designed to be completely silent and invisible to the surface world. They're taking the bait perfectly, reported Captain Lee So-young from her monitoring station. All their scans are focused on the surface ruins. They're not looking deep enough to find us. Dae nodded slowly. He had been preparing for this day for his entire adult life. When the nuclear exchange of 2157 had lit up Earth's surface, it hadn't been the end of humanity. It had been the beginning of the longest and most elaborate military deception in history. The nuclear war had been real, but it had also been controlled. Humanity's leaders had made a terrible choice. They had sacrificed their surface cities to create the perfect illusion of extinction, while the real human civilization moved deep underground to wait and prepare. How many survey teams are on the surface now? Dae asked. 12 teams from the Zephyrian Collective, So-young replied. They're documenting everything and sending regular reports back to their home world, according to our intercepted communications. They think we're just another failed species that couldn't control our violent nature. Dae smiled grimly. Let them think that. For 70 years, humanity had been living in deep underground cities, rebuilding their civilization in the shadows. They had watched alien ships visit Earth, occasionally causing accidents that brought down alien vessels. Every crashed ship had been carefully studied, every piece of technology reverse-engineered and improved, above ground. Valthara was becoming more puzzled by what she was seeing. The human ruins were extensive, but they seemed almost staged. Everything was destroyed, but destroyed in a very neat and organized way. It was as if someone had carefully arranged the destruction to look as complete as possible. Something's not right here, she said to Quindel. This destruction is too perfect. Real wars are messy, but this looks almost planned. Quindel shrugged. Maybe they were more organized than most species when they decided to kill themselves. Some civilizations are very thorough when they commit suicide. But Valthara wasn't satisfied with that explanation. She had studied hundreds of dead worlds, and this one felt different. The energy readings that had brought them here were still there, faint but persistent. They seemed to be coming from deep underground, but her surface scans couldn't penetrate far enough to find the source. "We need to do deeper scans," she decided. "There's something down there that we're missing." Far below, General Day received the alert from his surveillance team. The aliens were starting to get suspicious. It was time to activate the next phase of the plan. "Signal all deep facilities," he ordered. "Prepare for full concealment protocols. Send word to the other underground cities. Our guests are getting curious. We need to make sure they don't find anything they shouldn't." The greatest deception in human history was about to be tested, and the fate of humanity depended on keeping the secret just a little longer. The underground city of New Seoul stretched 4 kilometers beneath what had once been South Korea. The tunnels were wide and well-lit, filled with the sounds of thousands of people going about their daily lives. But this was not the humanity that the aliens above ground thought they knew. This was a civilization that had spent 70 years preparing for war. Dr. Park Min-ho walked through the research center, checking on his team's progress. Around him, scientists worked with technology that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. Alien computers sat next to human keyboards, and strange blue lights powered machines that had been built from crashed spaceship parts. "The Zephyrians are getting more curious," he told his assistant, Kim Hyjin. "They're starting to ask questions about the energy readings they detected." Hyjin looked up from her workstation, where she was building a new type of weapon. Rifle in her hands looked human, but its power source was definitely alien. "How much longer do we need to keep the secret?" "Not much longer," Park replied. "The general says we're almost ready for the next phase." The irony was not lost on any of them. For decades, alien ships had been visiting Earth, occasionally losing vessels to what they thought were accidents, navigation errors, equipment failures, bad luck. The aliens never suspected that humanity had been deliberately causing those crashes, salvaging the wreckage and learning everything they could about alien technology. Every crashed ship had been a gift. Every piece of alien equipment had been carefully studied, taken apart, and understood. Human engineers had learned how to build faster computers, stronger materials, and more powerful weapons. They had even learned how to hide their underground cities from alien sensors. Commander Yoon Jaemin entered the research center, his expression serious. "More ships are coming," he announced. "The hegemony is sending a full mining operation. They want to strip mine what's left of Tokyo." Park smiled coldly. "Perfect. The more aliens we have on the surface, the more we can learn about them." The training areas deep beneath the city. Human soldiers practiced with weapons that no alien had ever seen. Sergeant Kim Tae-won led his squad through combat drills, their movements precise and deadly. They had been training for this their entire lives, studying alien combat techniques from recordings of crashed ships and captured equipment. "Remember," Tae-won told his soldiers, "we know everything about them, but they know nothing about us. We've watched their training videos, studied their tactics, learned their weaknesses. When the time comes, we'll have every advantage." The soldiers nodded. They had grown up hearing stories of the surface world, of the great cities that had been sacrificed to create this deception. Their parents and grandparents had made the ultimate sacrifice, giving up their homes and their way of life so that humanity could survive in secret. In another part of the underground city, Dr. Kong the Sol worked on translating alien languages. She had learned to speak 12 different alien tongues, and she understood their cultures better than they understood each other. When the time came to reveal humanity's survival, she would be the one to deliver the message. "The Zephyrians think we're primitive," she said to her team. "They call us another failed species that couldn't control its violent nature. They have no idea that our violence was directed and controlled. We chose to destroy our surface cities to hide our real civilization." General Kim Dae walked through the command center, watching his people prepare for the greatest military operation in human history. The walls were covered with screens showing every alien installation on Earth's surface, every ship in orbit, every piece of equipment the aliens had brought to their world. "Status report," he said to Captain Lee So-young. 14 alien installations now operational on the surface, she replied. Mining operations in Tokyo, Seoul, and New York. Archaeological. Teams in London, Paris, and Beijing. We have complete surveillance on all of them, and our deep facilities. All underground cities are operating normally. Aliens have no idea we're here. Their surface scans can't penetrate our shielding, and we're intercepting all their communications. They nodded with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. The aliens thought they were scavenging a dead world, but they were actually being studied by an enemy that understood their technology better than they did. In the engineering sections, teams of human workers built new ships in secret. The vessels looked strange, combining human design with alien technology. They were faster than anything the aliens had, and their weapons were based on principles that no alien civilization had ever discovered. How many ships are ready? Day asked the chief engineer. 57 combat vessels, all fully operational, came the reply. Plus the orbital platforms we've been building in the asteroid belt. The aliens think those are just rocks, but they're actually weapons platforms. The greatest deception in galactic history was nearing its end. For 70 years, humanity had let the galaxy believe they were extinct. They had hidden in the depths of their world, learning, growing, preparing. Soon they would emerge from the shadows to show the galaxy what humanity was really capable of. But first, they had to wait just a little longer. The aliens were getting comfortable, setting up permanent bases, bringing more ships and equipment. When humanity finally revealed itself, they wanted to make sure the lesson would be remembered forever. The mining operation above the ruins of Seoul was running smoothly. Supervisor Brixtol of the Hegemony stood on the observation deck of his command ship, watching as massive machines pulled valuable metals from the broken cityscape below. The work was going faster than expected, and the profits would be enormous. These humans were incredibly wasteful, he said to his assistant, pointing at the piles of refined materials scattered throughout the ruins. Look at all this good metal, just lying around. They made our job easy by destroying everything for us. His assistant laughed. At least they had the courtesy to kill themselves before we arrived, saved us the trouble of having to conquer them. Neither of them noticed the small flying cameras that watched from the shadows of the broken buildings. They had no idea that every move they made was being recorded and studied by hidden observers who knew more about their technology than they did. The mining drones worked day and night, stripping away layers of debris to reach the valuable materials underneath. The aliens had brought their best equipment to Earth, confident that there was no one left to oppose them. They joked about the primitive humans who had been too stupid to survive their own wars, but strange things began to happen. First, a mining drone simply disappeared while working near the ruins of an old subway station. The operators assumed it had fallen into a hole or been damaged by unstable rubble. They sent another drone to investigate, but it never returned either. Equipment failures, Brixtol muttered when he heard the report. This planet is still radioactive. The radiation must be interfering with our systems. More incidents followed. Salvage crews reported that their tools would suddenly stop working. For no apparent reason, communication systems experienced mysterious static. Transport ships developed engine problems that their mechanics couldn't explain. The aliens blamed everything on the hostile environment. After all, this was a world that had been devastated by nuclear war. It made sense that their equipment would have problems in such a dangerous place. Deep beneath the mining operation, Strike Team Alpha prepared for their mission. Team leader Sergeant Kim Taewon checked his weapon one last time. The rifle looked human, but its power source was alien technology that had been improved by human engineers. It could fire faster and hit harder than anything the aliens had ever seen. Remember the plan, he whispered to his squad through their hidden communication system. We're not trying to win a battle today. We're gathering information and sending a message. Hit them hard, then disappear before they can figure out what happened. The first real attack came at midnight. A patrol of alien guards was making their rounds near the main mining facility when shadows seemed to come alive around them. The guards had time to raise their weapons, but not time to use them. Human soldiers emerged from hidden tunnels, struck fast and hard, then vanished back into the darkness. The aliens found their patrol the next morning, unconscious but alive. Their weapons and equipment were missing, but they had been left with a simple message written in the dust: "You are not welcome here." Brixtel was furious. "Impossible," shouted at his security chief. "This planet is dead. There's no one left alive down there." "Maybe it was survivors," his security chief suggested nervously. "Maybe some humans survived in underground shelters." "A few primitive survivors with crude weapons," Brixtel scoffed. "Even if there are some humans left, they're no threat to us. Double the guards and continue the mining operation." Attacks continued. Supply convoys were ambushed by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. Equipment was sabotaged in ways that suggested the attackers understood alien technology perfectly. Communication towers were destroyed by explosives that used alien components. Each attack was carefully planned and perfectly executed. The human forces never stayed to fight a prolonged battle. They would strike fast, take what they needed, and disappear before the aliens could respond. It was like fighting ghosts. Colonel Su-Wan watched the operations from her command bunker deep underground. The screens around her showed every alien installation on Earth's surface, tracked by hidden sensors and cameras that the aliens couldn't detect. Her teams were gathering incredible amounts of information about alien technology, tactics, and weaknesses. "Phase 1 is complete," she reported to General Kim Dae. "We have full intelligence on all alien operations. Their security systems, their communication protocols, their weapon capabilities. We know everything about them." "And they still think we're just a few primitive survivors?" Dae asked. "They're starting to get worried," Ji-Won replied. "But they still don't understand what they're facing. They think our attacks are random acts of desperation, not part of a coordinated military operation. The aliens brought in reinforcements, better weapons, stronger defenses, but nothing helped. The mysterious attacks continued, each one more sophisticated than the last. The humans seemed to know exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage and confusion. It's like they can read our minds," complained one alien commander. "They know our patrol schedules, our supply routes, our communication codes. How is that possible?" What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 70 years. Every alien ship that had ever visited Earth had been studied. Every piece of alien technology had been reverse-engineered. Every alien tactic had been analyzed and countered. The harvest was being interrupted, but that was only the beginning. Soon, the aliens would discover that Earth was not a dead world to be plundered, but a trap that had been carefully prepared for them. The attack began at exactly 6 in the morning, Earth time. Across 12 different alien installations scattered around the planet, human forces emerged from the ground like an army of ghosts rising from their graves. They had been planning this moment for 70 years, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity was really capable of. Captain Han. Sujin led her team through the corridors of the main hegemony mining facility. Her soldiers moved with perfect coordination, their hybrid weapons cutting through alien defenses like they were made of paper. The aliens had superior technology, but the humans had spent decades learning how to use that technology better than its creators. "Target the communication center first," Sujin ordered through her helmet radio. "We need to cut off their ability to call for help." The alien guards were caught completely off guard. They had been expecting attacks from primitive, human survivors with crude weapons, not a coordinated military assault by soldiers using advanced alien technology. Their defensive systems, designed to stop alien weapons, were useless against human modifications that worked in ways they had never seen before. In the command center of the mining operation, Supervisor Brixtel watched his security screens in horror as human soldiers appeared everywhere at once. "This is impossible," he shouted. "Where did they all come from? How many of them are there?" His security chief was frantically trying to contact the other alien installations, but all communication channels were being jammed. "Sir, we can't reach anyone. All our systems are being blocked." That was when the broadcasts began. Every alien communication frequency was suddenly filled with the same message, delivered in perfect hegemony language by a human woman with a calm, clear voice. "Attention alien forces," said Dr. Kang Desal from her broadcasting station deep beneath Seoul. "You are trespassing on human territory. You came here to steal from our graves. You laughed at our ruins. You thought we were extinct. You were wrong." The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Across the solar system, alien crews listened in shock as their dead planet spoke to them. The humans were not only alive, but they were angry. Organized and very well armed, Commander Yoon Jamin's voice joined the broadcast. "Speaking in the language of the Zephyrian Collective, we are humanity. We survived your neglect. We survived your mockery. We survived your theft of our world. We watched you. We learned from you. We prepared for you. And now, you will face the consequences of your arrogance." The aliens had always seen humans as a primitive species that had destroyed itself through violence and stupidity. But now they were facing an enemy that had turned that apparent self-destruction into the greatest military deception in galactic history. At the archaeological site near the ruins of Tokyo, Dr. Valthara found herself surrounded by human soldiers who had appeared from hidden tunnels beneath the very ruins she had been studying. The humans were not the primitive survivors she had expected. They were professional soldiers with advanced weapons and perfect knowledge of alien technology. "You studied our ruins," said the human team leader, speaking perfect Zephyrian. "Wrote reports about our primitive culture. You called us another failed species. Did you really think we would build a civilization on the surface and not prepare for underground survival?" Valthera realized with growing horror that the humans had been watching her team from the beginning. Every scan they had made, every report they had sent, every conversation they had held, had been monitored by hidden observers who understood their language perfectly. General Kim Dae stood in the primary command center, watching as his forces simultaneously attacked alien installations across the globe. The plan was working perfectly. The aliens were so shocked by the revelation of human survival that they were unable to organize an effective defense. "All primary targets secured," reported Colonel SEOG-1. "Enemy communication systems disabled. Their reinforcement calls are being blocked. Begin Phase 2, Day ordered. Show them what we've really been building down here, above Earth's atmosphere." Alien ships that had been orbiting the planet for months suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. The ships were sleek and strange, combining human design with alien technology in ways that created something entirely new. Fleet Admiral Lim Dong-Woo spoke from the bridge of the flagship Rising Phoenix, his voice broadcast to every alien vessel in the system. "Alien fleets, you came here to harvest a dead world. You found a living one. You thought you were scavenging from extinct primitives. You were stealing from a civilization that chose to hide rather than submit." The alien fleet commanders were in complete panic. Their sensors showed human ships that were faster and more maneuverable than anything they had ever seen. The weapon signatures were completely unknown, based on principles that no alien civilization had ever discovered. We did not know," came the reply from the Zephyrian flagship. "We thought you were extinct. We meant no harm. You came to our world uninvited," Dong-Woo replied coldly. "You pillaged our ruins. You mocked our civilization. You treated our planet like a graveyard to be robbed. But we are not a species that stays dead." The message was clear. Humanity had not only survived, but had grown stronger in secret. They had turned their apparent extinction into their greatest weapon, and now the galaxy would have to deal with the consequences of underestimating the human capacity for patience, planning, and revenge. The alien fleets that had come to strip mine a dead world now found themselves completely surrounded by human ships. The vessels seemed to appear from every direction at once, emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system that the aliens had never suspected existed. These were not the crude ships of a primitive species, but advanced warships that combined human innovation with alien technology in ways that no one had ever imagined possible. Fleet Admiral Lim Dong-Woo stood on the bridge of the Rising Phoenix, humanity's flagship, watching as dozens of alien vessels filled his view screen. For 70 years, humans had dreamed of this moment. Now it was finally here, and the fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours. "Alien fleets," he said, his voice carrying across every communication channel in the system. You came here believing you were visiting a graveyard. You thought you could take whatever you wanted from our world. You were wrong. The response came from the largest Sifarian ship, its captain's voice shaking with fear and confusion. ... We did not know humans still existed. Our surveys showed this world was dead. Thought we were just collecting materials from an extinct civilization. Ignorance is not an excuse, replied Dr. Park Min-ho, now serving as humanity's chief diplomat. His voice was calm but firm. You came to our world without permission. You stole from our ruins. You treated our planet like a store where you could take whatever you wanted. But we are not a dead species, and this is not a dead world. The aliens were learning a hard lesson about making assumptions. Their sensors showed human ships that were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything in their fleets. The humans had spent decades studying alien technology, improving it, and creating something entirely new. How did you hide for so long? Asked the Hegemony fleet commander. Our sensors detected no signs of advanced civilization. We saw only ruins and radiation. General Kim Dae smiled grimly as he answered. We sacrificed our surface cities to create the perfect illusion. We made you think we had destroyed ourselves, while our real civilization grew stronger underground. Every ship you lost to accidents over the years was carefully planned. We studied your technology, learned your weaknesses, and prepared for this day. The psychological impact was devastating. The aliens realized that humanity had been playing a game that lasted for generations, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. The humans had not only survived their apparent extinction, but had used it as a weapon against their enemies. What do you want from us? Asked the Zephyrian captain. We want recognition, Park Min-ho replied.
We
Want formal diplomatic relations? We want the galaxy to understand that humanity is not a failed species, but a civilization that chose to hide rather than submit. You have two choices. You can acknowledge our sovereignty and treat us as equals, or you can face the consequences of continuing to treat us as primitives. The alien fleet commanders held emergency meetings, trying to understand how they had been so completely outmaneuvered. Their military advisors warned them that fighting the humans would be suicide. The human ships were clearly superior, and the humans had demonstrated perfect knowledge of alien tactics and technology. We accept your terms, the Zephyrian captain finally announced. We will establish formal diplomatic relations and recognize human sovereignty over this system. But the humans were not finished. They had one more lesson to teach the galaxy about the consequences of underestimating human determination. The final ceremony took place in the ruins of Seoul, the same city where alien archaeologists had first mocked human civilization. Alien diplomats were required to kneel among the broken buildings while they signed treaties that granted humanity full recognition as a galactic power. Ambassador Valthara, the same archaeologist who had first dismissed humanity as another failed species, now found herself signing documents that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Her hands shook as she wrote her signature, surrounded by the ruins she had once laughed at. These ruins you mocked, said General Kim Dae, standing over the kneeling diplomats, are not symbols of human failure. They are symbols of human sacrifice. We chose to destroy our surface cities to hide our real strength. We chose to let you think we were extinct while we prepared for this moment. The alien diplomats signed treaty after treaty, each one more humiliating than the last. They agreed to pay reparations for the materials they had stolen. They agreed to establish trade relationships on human terms. They agreed to share their technology freely with humanity. Most importantly, they agreed to spread the word throughout the galaxy that humanity was not a dead species, but a living civilization that had turned its apparent extinction into its greatest strength as the alien ships departed. Carrying news of humanity's return to the stars, the underground cities began their long journey to the surface. The age of hiding was over. The age of deception had ended. Now began the age of humanity as a true galactic power. The ruins of Seoul would remain as a monument to human cunning and determination, a reminder to the galaxy that sometimes the greatest victories come not from strength, but from the patience to wait for the perfect moment to strike. The humans had knelt in their own ruins for 70 years. But now it was the aliens who knelt, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.